You know, coins are far more than just small metallic discs we use to buy things. They're actually tiny pieces of history that we can hold in our hands. Each one, honestly, tells a story. They tell us about the kings and queens who ruled, the gods people worshipped, and the empires that rose and fell. A coin is really a silent storyteller, a witness to the past that has traveled through countless hands and across many generations. It carries the symbols of power, the declarations of faith, and the artistic styles of its time. When you look closely at an old coin, you're not just seeing a piece of currency, you're looking at a document cast in metal, a tangible link to a world that has long since vanished. Imagine, for a moment, the journey a single coin has taken. It might have been minted in a bustling ancient city, paid to a soldier in a conquering army, or used by a merchant in a crowded bazaar to buy spices from a distant land. It could have been hidden for safekeeping, buried under the earth for centuries, only to be rediscovered by a farmer or an archaeologist. Every scratch and mark on its surface is a part of its long and fascinating biography. These objects connect us to the daily lives of people who lived hundreds or even thousands of years ago. They remind us that, despite the vast differences in time and technology, the fundamental human need for trade and exchange remains unchanged. In South Asia, a region with a deep and complex history, coins have played a particularly vital role. The land that is now Pakistan has been a crossroads of civilizations for millennia. From the ancient Indus Valley cities to the grand Mughal courts and the administrative centers of the British Raj, each power that held sway here left its mark in the form of coinage. These coins are not just historical artifacts, they are a map of cultural and political change. They show the flow of ideas, the spread of religions, and the shifting boundaries of power. Studying them allows us to trace the intricate tapestry of a region shaped by invasion, trade, and extraordinary creativity. So, this essay will take you on a journey through the complete history of Pakistan's coins, starting long before the country itself was born. We'll explore the earliest forms of money in the subcontinent, examine the magnificent coins of great empires, and witness the creation of a new national currency in 1947. We'll look at the smallest and humblest of these coins, the Pakistani penny, and understand how it reflects the economic and social story of a modern nation. This is not just a history of currency, but a history of a people, their identity, and their place in the world, all told through the small, enduring objects they carried in their pockets. The story of coinage in the lands of modern-day Pakistan begins in the mists of antiquity. Long before the great empires arrived, the Indian subcontinent was a place of innovation. Around the 6th century BCE, a new idea took hold. Instead of trading goods for other goods, people began using standardized pieces of metal. These were among the earliest coins in the world, known as punch-marked coins. They were not perfectly round like the coins we know today. Instead, they were irregularly shaped pieces of silver, carefully weighed to ensure their value. Different kingdoms and city-states, known as Mahajanapadas, stamped them with their own unique symbols using punches. These symbols were not portraits of rulers, but rather abstract designs, animals, and geometric patterns. You might find a sun, a bull, a fish, or a complex arrangement of dots and lines. Each mark was a guarantee of the coin's weight and purity, certified by the issuing authority. Imagine a bustling marketplace in the ancient city of Taxila, a center of learning and trade located near modern Islamabad. A merchant might receive a handful of these silver pieces, each bearing the distinct marks of different kingdoms. This system created a common language of commerce that connected disparate regions, making trade easier and more efficient than ever before. These coins were the lifeblood of a growing economy. The variety of symbols on these early coins tells us about a vibrant and diverse world. Some scholars believe the symbols represented different guilds of merchants or local rulers. For instance, a coin with a fish might have come from a coastal region, while one with a mountain range could have originated from a kingdom in the Himalayan foothills. These small pieces of silver are like a puzzle, and historians and archaeologists work to piece together the meaning behind each punch. They are the first written records of economic life in the subcontinent, predating many of the grand histories of kings and conquests that would come later. Finding these ancient coins today is like discovering a message in a bottle from over 2,500 years ago. They are often found in hoards, buried in clay pots by people who likely intended to retrieve them later, but never could. Each hoard provides a snapshot of the currencies circulating at a particular moment in time. The punch-marked coins of ancient Gandhara, the region encompassing parts of modern Pakistan and Afghanistan, are a testament to the subcontinent's pioneering role in the history of money. They laid the foundation for all the complex and beautiful coinage that would follow in the centuries to come. As armies marched and empires expanded, the simple punch-marked coins gave way to more sophisticated and artistic forms of money. When Alexander the Great and his Greek armies arrived in the subcontinent in the 4th century BCE, they brought with them a new tradition, minting coins with realistic portraits of their rulers. This was a revolutionary idea. The Indo-Greeks, who ruled parts of modern Pakistan and Afghanistan after Alexander's departure, produced some of the most stunning coins of the ancient world. They blended Greek artistic styles with local Indian motifs, creating a unique cultural fusion. For the first time, people could see the face of their king on the money they used every day. Centuries later, the Mughal Empire rose to dominate the subcontinent, and its coinage reflected its immense power and wealth. The Mughals were masters of calligraphy and design. Their coins, struck in gold, silver, and copper, were works of art. Instead of portraits, which were generally avoided in Islamic tradition, Mughal coins featured intricate patterns and beautifully rendered Arabic and Persian script. They bore the name of the reigning emperor, his titles, the date, and the location of the mint. The great Emperor Akbar, for example, issued a vast array of coins, including magnificent gold mohurs, that were famous across Asia for their purity and beauty. These coins were not just for trade, they were symbols of imperial majesty. Then came the British, as the East India Company, and later the British Crown, extended its control over the subcontinent. It introduced its own currency. The coins of the British Raj marked a dramatic shift. They were mass-produced with industrial precision, a stark contrast to the handcrafted coins of earlier eras. The designs were standardized across the vast territory of British India. One side of the coin invariably featured the portrait of the reigning British monarch, Queen Victoria, King Edward VII, King George V, and finally King George VI. This was a powerful statement of colonial rule, a daily reminder to every person who used the money of who was in charge. The reverse side of these British Indian coins often featured the value written in English, Urdu, Bengali, and other local languages, framed by elegant floral wreaths. The denominations were familiar: rupees, annas, and paise. The paise, a small copper coin, was the penny of its day, the coin of the common person. It was used for everyday transactions, from buying a cup of tea to paying for a short ride on a tonga. These coins, bearing the face of a distant monarch in London, circulated throughout the villages and cities of what would one day become Pakistan, setting the stage for the next chapter in the region's monetary history. On August 14, 1947, the British Raj ended, and Pakistan was born as an independent nation. This momentous political change required the creation of a new national identity, and currency was a crucial part of that process. However, establishing a new mint and designing and producing millions of coins from scratch was a monumental task that could not be accomplished overnight. So in the beginning, Pakistan took a practical approach. It continued to use the existing British Indian coins. To distinguish them as legal tender of the new country, the government used a simple but effective method. They were counter-stamped with the words "Government of Pakistan" in English. This interim period was brief, but historically significant. Imagine the feeling of using a coin with the portrait of King George VI, the last emperor of India. but now officially marked by the new Pakistani state. It was a symbol of transition, a bridge between the colonial past and an independent future. These overstamped coins are now rare collector's items, tangible relics of Pakistan's first days. They represent a moment of immense change, when old systems were being adapted to serve a new sovereign nation. The urgency and pragmatism of the time are captured in these humble, modified pieces of metal. It was not until 1948 that Pakistan began issuing its very own coins. The first series was designed with great care to reflect the new country's identity. The portrait of the British monarch was gone forever. In its place, the coins featured symbols that were deeply meaningful to the new nation. The most prominent design was the crescent moon and star, a powerful emblem of Islam and a central feature of Pakistan's national flag. Another key design element was the Tugra, an elegant calligraphic monogram that included the words Hukumat-e Pakistan, Government of Pakistan, in Urdu, the national language. The designs were simple, yet they spoke volumes about sovereignty and a distinct cultural heritage. The denominations of these first coins followed the old British Indian system, which was beautifully complex. The basic unit was the rupee, which was divided into 16 annas. Each anna, in turn, was divided into 4 pice, and each pice was divided into 3 pies. The smallest coin issued was the 1 pi coin, a tiny bronze piece with a hole in the middle. This system, with its fractions and multiple units, had been in place for generations and was familiar to everyone. So, while the designs on the coins were new and proudly Pakistani, the underlying monetary structure remained a legacy of the past, easing the transition for millions of people. In the early years of Pakistan, the monetary system was, rich with small value coins that actually played a vital role in the daily economy. The absolute smallest of these was the 1 pi coin. Issued from 1948, this was a truly tiny piece of bronze, so small and light that it seems almost unreal today. A rupee was worth 192 pies, so this coin represented a minuscule fraction of the main currency unit. It was so low in value that it had a hole in the center, which was a design feature often used for the smallest coins to make them easily distinguishable by feel and, to save on metal. For many people, especially in rural areas, the pi was a unit of real, tangible value. Just above the pi was the pice, which was worth 3 pies. The 1 pice coin, also made of bronze, was the workhorse of small transactions. It was the coin you would use to buy a piece of candy, a single chapati, or a small handful of vegetables from a street vendor. Americans might think of it as the equivalent of a penny, but its purchasing power in the 1950s was significant for a large portion of the population. The design of the first Pakistani pice featured the tukra and crescent moon, but what made it distinctive was its scalloped, wavy edge, another feature designed to help people, including those who were visually impaired, identify it by touch. This system of annas and pies was really a link to a much older, pre-decimal world. However, as the global economy modernized, this complex system became cumbersome. Most of the world was moving towards decimalization, a system where the main currency unit is divided into 100 smaller parts. In 1961, Pakistan made this historic change. The rupee was now divided into 100 paisa, with the paisa replacing the old pice. The term paisa itself was not new, but its value was now fixed in a simple decimal framework. The old anna coins were gradually withdrawn, and a new era of Pakistani coinage began. After decimalization, the smallest coin became the 1 paisa coin. Like its predecessor, the 1 pi, it was a very small bronze coin. It carried on the tradition of representing the lowest unit of value in the country's economic life. For a time, it circulated alongside a 2 paisa, 5 paisa, and 10 paisa coin. These small coins were essential for the everyday commerce of the common person. They were the coins of the street, used in bustling markets and small village shops. Their story is the story of the grassroots economy, a world away from the grand gold mohurs of the Mughals, but honestly, no less important to the history of the nation. The history of Pakistan's coinage is not just a story of changing designs, but also of changing materials. The metals used to make coins tell a fascinating economic story. In the early years from 1948, Pakistan's coins were made from materials that had been standard for decades. The higher value Anna coins were struck in copper-nickel, a durable and silvery-looking alloy. The smaller pice and pi coins were made of bronze. These metals were relatively expensive and sturdy, reflecting an era when even small change was expected to last for a long time. They had a satisfying weight and feel, a sense of permanence and value. However, as the decades passed, the world changed. The price of metals like copper and nickel began to rise on the global market. At the same time, inflation began to erode the purchasing power of the currency. A coin that was once worth a small but useful amount of goods became less and less valuable. A point was reached where the metal in the coin was actually worth more than its face value. This created a serious problem. People would be tempted to melt down the coins to sell the raw metal for a profit, causing a shortage of currency. Governments around the world, including Pakistan's, had to respond. The solution was to switch to cheaper materials. In the 1960s and 70s, Pakistan began to phase out the expensive bronze and copper-nickel alloys for its smaller denomination coins. The new material of choice was aluminum. Aluminum was light, abundant, and most importantly, inexpensive. The 1, 2, 5, and 10 paisa coins were all reissued in this silvery white metal. The change was immediately noticeable. The new coins were incredibly lightweight, feeling almost like tokens compared to their heavier predecessors. This shift from heavy bronze to light aluminum was a direct reflection of the economic pressures of the time. This change in materials also coincided with changes in design. The government used coins to celebrate national themes and promote development. For example, a series of coins issued in the 1970s under the Food for All program featured symbols like wheat stalks, a fishing boat, and a farmer with a plow. These designs were meant to highlight the importance of agriculture and self-sufficiency. Over the years, the coins have commemorated national heroes, important anniversaries, and architectural landmarks. Thus, the coins evolved from being simple carriers of state symbols to becoming miniature billboards for national messaging, all while their physical composition was changing to adapt to economic realities. To truly grasp the story of Pakistan's smallest coins, it helps to draw a parallel with a coin every American knows intimately, the penny. The American 1-cent piece has its own rich history. For most of its life, it was made primarily of copper, giving it a distinctive color and a solid feel. It was a coin that felt like it was worth something. However, just like in Pakistan, rising metal prices forced a change. In 1982, the US Mint switched the composition of the penny from 95% copper to a core of zinc with a very thin copper plating. The new pennies looked similar, but they were noticeably lighter and cheaper to produce. This American experience directly mirrors what happened with Pakistan's paisa. The shift from bronze and copper-nickel to aluminum was driven by the exact same economic logic. When the metal in a coin becomes more valuable than the coin itself, the government must find a cheaper alternative or risk the currency disappearing. Both the American penny and the Pakistani paisa became victims of their own success in a world of rising commodity prices. They were designed for an economic era that no longer existed, an era where a single cent or a single paisa could actually buy something. Think about the stories and traditions surrounding the American penny. Phrases like "a penny for your thoughts" or the superstition of picking up a penny for good luck show how deeply this small coin is woven into the cultural fabric. In Pakistan, the paisa held a similar, if less mythologized, position. It was the coin of the people, the currency of the street. While there may not be famous sayings about it, its importance was understood by everyone. It was the basic unit of charity given to a beggar, the small change received from a bus conductor, and the price of a simple sweet for a child. Its presence was a constant in the economic lives of millions. Just as many Americans now debate whether the penny should be discontinued because it costs more to produce than it is worth, Pakistan faced the same dilemma with its small paisa coins decades earlier. The story of these small coins is a universal one. It is a tale of inflation, economic reality, and the slow fading of value. By understanding the journey of the American penny, its change in material, and its debated relevance, an American reader can immediately connect with the history of the Pakistani paisa. Both coins tell a global story of how time and economics transform the very money we use every day. There comes a time in the life of every small coin when its value drops so low that it becomes practically useless. Inflation is a relentless force. An amount of money that could buy a full meal 50 years ago might not even buy a single piece of candy today. This is precisely what happened to the small paisa coins in Pakistan. By the 1980s and 90s, the 1, 2, and 5 paisa coins had lost almost all their purchasing power. Prices for everyday goods had risen to the point where nothing was priced in such small increments anymore. The coins became more of a nuisance than a convenience. As their value evaporated, these small aluminum coins began to disappear from circulation. Shopkeepers would round prices up to the nearest 10 paisa or even quarter rupee. People stopped carrying the tiny coins, often leaving them in shopkeepers' trays or simply discarding them. The government and the State Bank of Pakistan recognized this reality. Continuing to mint and circulate coins that cost more to produce than they were worth and that nobody used was no longer logical. So, one by one, the smallest denominations were officially demonetized, meaning they were no longer considered legal tender. The first to go were the 1 and 2 paisa coins, followed by the 5 and 10 paisa. For a while, the 25 paisa and 50 paisa coins remained, but they too eventually met the same fate. By the 21st century, the smallest coin in regular circulation in Pakistan had become the 1 rupee coin. In a dramatic illustration of inflation's effect, the coin that was once the main unit of currency, the anchor of the entire system, had become the new penny. The old paisa, the descendant of the historic pice, had vanished from the pockets and purses of the nation. Today, these small paisa coins are no longer part of daily life. They exist only as memories for the older generation and as curiosities for coin collectors. They are relics of a different economic time, a time when a single paisa had meaning. Their disappearance marks the end of an era. It is a silent testament to decades of economic change and the ever-shifting value of money. The story of the paisa's decline and eventual disappearance is a powerful lesson in economics, showing how even something as solid as a coin can simply fade away when its purpose is lost. The journey through the history of Pakistani coinage is a journey through the heart of the nation itself. From the ancient punch-marked pieces of taxila to the lightweight aluminum paisa of the late 20th century, each coin is a chapter in a long and dramatic story. They are not merely tokens for economic exchange. They are carriers of identity, propaganda, and art. They reflect the land's position as a historical crossroads, absorbing traditions from the Greeks, the Mughals, and the British, and then forging a new path with symbols of its own. This rich, layered history is what makes Pakistan's coinage so unique and compelling. The story of the Pakistani penny, whether you call it the pi, the pice, or the paisa, is particularly poignant. It is a story of the common person. While gold mohurs tell tales of imperial splendor, these humble bronze and aluminum discs tell the story of daily life, of small joys and everyday struggles. Their transformation from sturdy bronze to feather-light aluminum, and their eventual disappearance, is a direct and tangible chronicle of the nation's economic journey. They are a physical manifestation of inflation, a concept that can be abstract, made real in the palm of your hand. What makes this history so special is its accessibility. You do not need to be a wealthy collector to touch this past. past. Many of these coins, especially the more recent paisa and rupee denominations, are still affordable and available. They offer a direct physical connection to the past that is rare in our increasingly digital world. Holding a 1948 one paise coin, with its distinctive scalloped edge, is to hold a piece of Pakistan's foundational moment. Looking at a coin from the 1970s with its food for all message is to connect with the aspirations and challenges of that decade. In the end, the legacy of Pakistan's coins is that they are silent witnesses that speak volumes. They tell a story of independence, of building a new identity, and of navigating the economic currents of the modern world. They show how a nation chooses to represent itself, what it values, and how it adapts to change. They are small, durable monuments to the passage of time, chronicling the journey of a people from ancient empires to a modern state. More than just metal, they are history itself, compressed into a small round form that has passed through the hands of millions